UCLA, he's the number 3 team. And if you're asking me who the best individual running back is in the Pac-12, maybe even the country when all is said and done next year, it's Zach Charbonnet. We know Charbonnet is that guy. 1,100 yards rushing last year and 13 touchdowns with a 5.7 yards per carry average. PFF ranked him the best running back within the conference last year. And he also had the most rushing attempts without a fumble, 214 last year. Also did some incredible things where, the most forced missed tackles, and it wasn't even particularly close. He won that in the Pac-12 over Tavion Thomas by a double-digit amount. They call him the Terminator for a reason. Charbonnet showed some underrated aspects to his game last year. And, you look at the Fresno State game, you look at LSU, he's catching passes. And a big back like that, 6'2", 220 plus pounds, those are usually the guys that go up the gut with the play call, the up the middle running option, not Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet can do a little bit of everything, catch passes, run right up the middle, make plays, cut it to the outside. He has such quick feet for that size, and it allows him to accelerate and stop on a dime while also being one of the strongest players on the field. And just having a guy like Zach Charbonnet out there, it just makes it difficult for the defense. My prediction for this year is I think he's going to get to 1,500 yards rushing, close to, between 15 and 18 rushing touchdowns. I think he's going to be solely in the conversation for the Doak Walker Award. But with UCLA, the presumptive number 2 running back who we're very high on, Deshaun Morrell, he's never taken a carry in college yet. Everything we're hearing from spring ball is great, but I got to see some production before I'm willing to put them over the Utahs and the USCs of the conference. So we got to wait and see how that pans out. I like what I've seen from him on paper. I like what I've seen from him from a practice standpoint. I can't have them higher than number 3, not knowing Morrell there. And we've also seen Keegan Jones. He has, 41 carries to his name. Hasn't really had that, consistency that we've been looking for. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are penciling Morrell in as the number 2 back going to camp. So if Charbonnet were to get injured, I just don't know what the depth is behind him, which makes the UCLA Bruins the number 3 team running back wise. But you got to feel confident with a guy like Charbonnet at the top. And I would bet in a Chip Kelly offense with Morrell or a Keegan Jones that big things are going to happen for UCLA football. Number 2, this is a tough one. This is where it got incredibly difficult because both these running back rooms are absolutely stacked. And for me, the number 2 team was Utah. And that was with Tavion Thomas leading the way for the Utes. And this guy was an absolute monster last year. Look at the Rose Bowl tape against Ohio State. 21 total touchdowns last year. That is the most of any Power 5 running back last season as a whole, and he is coming back. PFF also graded him as having the most explosive runs within the Pac-12 at 36. 1,108 yards. That was good for 3rd within the conference as well. He's the classic downhill runner. If you're in the NFL, think of like a Jonathan Taylor, a Derrick Henry version of that in the Pac-12. I'm not saying he's as good as those guys. I'm just saying that's the type of ball player he is. The backup, Micah Bernard. And Micah Bernard is just a wonderful all-purpose back. And Utah fans are incredibly excited about him. He can not only run the football, and he does it incredibly well too. 87 carries for 523 yards. That's 6 yards a carry, which is very, very high. The 5 yards per carry in college is almost like 40% from 3. And he's at 6 yards a carry. It's like hitting a 3 at 43 or 44%. That's an amazing, amazing stat. He's the guy that can also go out and get catches. 26 catches to Micah Bernard's name. 251 yards receiving last year. I just think when you combine a Bernard and a Tavion Thomas, that is really, really tough to beat. So I am going to put Utah number 2 and the presumptive number 1 team in the conference. I hate to say it, but I got to be fair. SC has got to be the number 1 team in terms of running back rooms. And it starts with just the transfers they were able to acquire with a guy like Lincoln Riley. You get Travis Dye. He has probably the best case outside of Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State of being the best all-purpose back within the country. He actually led the conference in rushing yards last year. 211 carries, 1,200-plus yards, 1,271 yards, 6 yards per carry, and 16 touchdowns on the ground. Add to the fact he had 46 catches last year as well. 46 catches for a lot of different wide receivers in the college game is a very, very successful year. You combine that to a running back that did that with 1,200 plus yards. That is a wild, wild stat. I think Charbonnet is going to have the better season, but you could easily make the case to me that, Travis Dye is better than both Tavion Thomas and Charbonnet. And Austin Jones, a veteran tailback who's played 3 years in the Pac-12 at Stanford, coming down to USC. He's got 67 career catches to his name. He's had some flashy plays at Stanford, a lot of speed. He's looked at as, a running back that's very explosive. I think that was a phenomenal fit for USC scheme-wise. They were able to add a 5-star running back from modern day, Raleek Brown. And if you go and turn on the tape for this guy, I know you're going, hey, Will, you're talking about Deshaun Morrell not having experience. He hasn't played. You're talking about Byron Caldwell, the lack of numbers he's put up yet. Raleek Brown doesn't have to do a lot this year because he's got those two guys in front of him. And, worst case scenario, it comes down to him. Your last option is a 5-star running back, going out there and making plays for USC. Things could be a lot worse, especially with the offense and coaching that Lincoln Riley brings to the table. So those are my running back rooms. I've got USC 1, Utah number 2, UCLA number 3, Arizona State number 4, and Oregon State number 5.